Hi, so welcome back to another pick and mix tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how we do face gem makeup, total festival vibes. Stay tuned. So as always, I'm taking my Got2b glue gel and I'm just putting that on with a spoolie brush and brushing through my brows. And then once it's set, I'm just going to push that product all the way down and make sure my eyebrows have that laminated effect. Just taking a wipe and wiping off any excess that's gone onto my skin. We don't want any foundation sticking to that glue because it will just create this weird texture on the skin, so just make sure you wipe all of it away. Once you've kind of set them in place, I'm then going to draw a line underneath the brow just to shape them and then mimic the hair strokes all the way along the brow just to fill in the gaps. As you can see, I've got quite light and thin brows, so I like to create this laminated effect just so they look a little bit more fluffier. So I'm just going through shaping the tail and then shaping the front of the brow as well. Once I'm happy, I'm then going to take my bases. Today I'm mixing the shade 0 and the shade 3 to make a lighter shade. Usually I would use the shade 2, but I ran out of that one, so I'm just mixing to make my own shade. I'm taking that on a P. Louise Acid Rain brush and I'm just following the shape of my eyebrow that I've created and just neatening up that line. So I'm drawing a line directly underneath and then I'm dragging the excess product down onto my lid and just patting that on. Shaping the front and the tail. And patting that all over to make it set. I then take a fluffy eyeshadow brush and blend out the edges because we want this to blend in with our foundation as well. So as you can see, I've got a very structured brow now. So I'm just topping up with that base on top of the lid, making sure I'm happy with the amount that I've got on my lid. We want it to be a blank canvas for the shadows that we're going to put on. And this is what will make them last all day, but also make them really pigmented. We want them the same colour as they are in the eyeshadow pan. So first I'm going in with the shade Cocoa from the Carnival Love Tahiti palette, and I'm just using a small pencil brush and just creating that first circular shape going around my eye. I'm following the shape of my own crease, but I'm going slightly higher than this just so you can see it when my eye is fully open. So I'm literally, as you can see, following the shape of that crease that I've already got and then rounding it off on the edges. Going in with the darker shade first, getting little bits at a time and bringing that colour through. The shape is really important because this is what the rest of the blends are going to follow, so we want to make sure we've got the right shape with this first shade. Once I'm happy with that, I'm then going to take the shade Ginger from the same palette. And I'm just taking a Zoeva fluffy crease brush, so this is slightly bigger than the first brush, and I'm just doing circular motions, 50% on, 50% off, to blend this out but also put this new shade on. And again, this is why we can see that the first shape is really important when we put that first shadow on, because all we're doing is following that exact shape again with this colour. So once you're happy with that, and then going back in with that previous colour, which is Cocoa, and just making sure I'm bringing that colour back through again. Next, I'm going to take a MAC bronzer in the shade Dark Brown, and I'm just using a fluffy Molly O'Brien brush just to blend out these edges. This is a nice warm brown, but it's going to make it nice and soft as well on those edges. So again, I'm going 50% on, 50% off, and because it's a fluffier brush, it's going to make those edges look really soft as we apply this product. Going in with little bits at a time and building it up rather than going in with quite a lot at the start. We want to be able to build this up and make it nice and soft. I'm also dragging out that outer corner just to make it a little bit more winged out. So it's got that blown out effect on the outer corner. I'm doing small feather-like circular motions, barely touching the skin really, because that's how we make it nice and soft. Going back in with my previous shades again, I'm working my way back down the colours until I'm happy with my blends. Bringing those colours back through, because whatever colour we put on always falls down onto the others, so we have to bring them back through. And again, making sure I'm keeping that circular shape, but also blending it out slightly towards the outer corner. Back and forth, up and down these colours, and, oh, yep, sprinkled it on my face. Making sure I've got all those colours coming through before we cut the crease. Softening out that edge. You can see sometimes when you do go back in with your colours, you create harsh lines again, so you want to make sure you're going back and forth with your different colours until you're happy with that blend, until all of those shades are really softly blended together. Let the brushes do the work for you. Now I'm finally happy with my blends. I'm taking the Vaseline and that same brush again that I used to apply the base, just making sure I've washed that product off. And I'm just applying a bit of Vaseline on both sides and making sure it's nice and thin. And then I'm using the brush to my advantage and creating this shape. So you can see this is why I took the first shade a little bit higher than my crease, because this is where we're going to cut it. Once you've applied that Vaseline, and then I'm going to take a dry wipe and the end of a brush and just use that to wipe off that product. And as you can see, it's wiping away wherever we've put that Vaseline, it just wipes away that product. So you do have to be very careful where you place your Vaseline, but the good thing is if you get that in the right place, it can just wipe away immediately. So now I'm taking the blank canvas from P. Louise, using the same brush again because I love this acid rain brush, but I am making sure I've washed all Vaseline off it with a face wipe. Otherwise, if the Vaseline mixed in with the blank canvas, it wouldn't work, it would just slip off. So I'm just using the brush again to my advantage because it's nice and sharp, and just patting on that blank canvas. I'm using the shape we've already created when we used the Vaseline. So we've done most of the work already, we're just patting this product on, making sure it's nice and neat around those edges. And then I'm dragging any of the excess product down onto the lid. Next, I'm going to bring in the darker colours. So I'm going back in with my darkest colour first, Cocoa, then Ginger, then the bronzer that we used to blend it out, and just bringing those colours in and recreating that blend coming inwards from the outer corner, just to soften it. Using the same brushes as well because they were nice and small, but obviously as we went up the lighter shades, our brushes got bigger, so I'm using a small pencil brush just to bring the lighter colours back through. And again, working our way through the blend until we're happy. Next, I'm taking a little bit of duo glue and I'm just placing that directly where the blank canvas is, following that shape we've already created. And I'm using minimal product and just making sure I'm spreading that all over the blank canvas, following that shape that we've already created because we want this to be nice and neat. Next, I'm taking the Pixie pigment.
Parasite. And pride.
And I'm just popping that on again with the same brush
That's exactly why
and popping that on the inner corner.
Well, if you're not going to kill me, then what the hell do you want? I'll need to give you back the city that was taken from you.
And then I'm going to take the Doll Beauty pigment in a nice pink shade, and I'm just popping that on in the middle and creating this ombre effect with the shadows.
Trying to undermine Elijah's venture. I'm supporting his
And
vision.
blending the two together.
Vampires destroy life to survive. Witches are only as powerful as their dead. Werewolves thrive because their strength comes from
And using whatever is left of my brush just to blend into that outer corner. Now I'm going to pop on a little bit of black eyeliner.
The painful truth is,
I'm just putting that along my lash line.
vampires are the antithesis of unity. So what? After 1,000 years, you're finally ready to embrace the other half of your family tree?
I'm not going to take it out and wing it. I'm literally just taking it along the lash line, and then I'm going to blend in those edges.
Oh, they will. Once they return to the quarter. You got a plan to back that up? My mother.
I want it to look slightly thicker on that outer corner, so I've just got it going at an angle. And next I'm taking the dark black shade from the Love Teats palette in the shade Black Beach, and I'm just softening that edge slightly.
Descendant of my biological father. I believe she gave him this ring as a way of freeing him. How so? Daylight rings shield vampires from the sun, so why not?
Now I'm just taking a face wipe and I'm cleaning up underneath, and I'm also using that to create that sharp edge on the outer corner. Just cleaning up and then using the wipe to basically draw that line. Then I'm going to be taking blank canvas again for our waterline. And I'm using the same brush again, so in between each stage when I'm reusing this brush, I'm wiping it and make sure each product is taken off. Once you find brushes you like, you'll find you'll just stick to them and you can use them for loads of different things, and this is one of those magical brushes. So I'm going to pop on a shadow as well on top of this blank canvas and make that waterline really pop. So I'm just taking a small angled brush and I'm going to use the shade Coral from the same Carnival Love Tahiti palette and just make this look pop even more. It's not enough putting face gems on, is it? We need some nice bright waterline as well. So I'm just patting that on top of that blank canvas. Having a blank canvas as a base as well means that this is going to stay on a lot longer than if we didn't have a base on that waterline. So now it's time to do our under eye shadows. So I'm going to be taking the base again and I'm just popping that on again using this same brush and just popping that underneath the eye, and then using a fluffy eyeshadow brush to blend that in. At this point you can also use this, whatever excess is left on your brush, to neaten out the edges and neaten out that outer corner. But when you've used a face wipe to create the line, it's often quite neat anyway. So I'm just taking some glue that is stuck on my eyelashes that was annoying me. And now I'm going back in with my darker shades again and we're recreating those blends that we created on top. So again, I can even use the same small brush because it's small enough to get under my eye. And I'm going back in with the shade Cocoa, making sure it's blending in with those shadows that we still got on our outer corner as well. After Cocoa, we're going to go in with the shade Ginger. And we're going to go 50% on, 50% off, so exactly the same as the upper blends, but because it's a smaller area, we're not bringing it down as much, and we need a lot smaller brushes. And then going in with that dark tan from MAC and just fluffing out and blending the under eye just so it's nice and soft. Next I'm going in with a little bit of highlighter on the inner corner on a small pencil brush just to brighten that up. So that was the shade Nylon from MAC, and I like to use that as an inner corner highlight. Then I'm going to take some glue on a really small detailing brush from, I think this is from the range actually. And I'm just popping that glue on where I want my gems to go, letting it set a little bit and then sticking the gems on top. I've just gone straight in with my fingers, but it's probably easier to use tweezers, but because the gems I used today were so small, I just find it easier to pop the glue on and then just pop that gem on with my fingers. Just being really careful that you're not going to disrupt any of the shadow underneath, so making sure you're going to place it exactly on top of the glue as well. So I'm going to put a little cluster on that inner corner and then a little cluster on that outer corner as well. These gems do have a sticky base on them anyway, but if you're popping a little bit of glue on, it's a lot easier to stick it on and it'll stay on for longer. Especially if this is kind of a look that you'd wear to a festival, you want it to stay on all day. There we go. So now I'm going to pop on some lashes. So I'm just popping some glue on the lash band. And then I'm going to pop a little bit on my actual lash line as well. That way it's going to stick together like Velcro. So once I've got my glue on, I'm just popping on a little bit of mascara, just so that my eyelashes are going to be the same colour as the false eyelashes. Giving them a little blow. And because we've put that little bit of glue on our own lash line already, that lash is then going to stick straight on. So it's important that you get it in the right position when you do it like this, but it's then going to stick a lot easier as well. These are Beyond Basic Beauty lashes and I love them. Look how big they are, perfect for festival style. So all I'm doing here is squeezing my own lashes and the false lashes together so that they're nice and neat. We don't want any lashes underneath to kind of be sticking out. Now I'm going in with my skin. So I'm going to go in with the Fit Me foundation and then the Lasting Perfection Collection foundation. I'm mixing these two together. First I'm going to put on a little bit of moisturiser just to make sure my skin is nice and moisturised, nice and soft. So this is the aloe gel from L'Oreal, the Hydrogenius gel. I've just popped that all over my face and then I'm going in with my foundation. Using a foundation brush just to get it in the areas that I want, and then I'm going to start buffing that in. So I'm using a PC19 from Peaches and Cream, so this is a really dense buffing brush and I'm literally just pushing that product into my skin. If you've watched any of my other videos, you'll know I'm obsessed with using a buffing brush rather than a beauty blender. I just find it really pushes it into the skin and looks a bit more seamless. I'm just making sure I'm dragging that down my neck as well so it's blended in. On the ears, we don't want any red ears. So I'm just popping that foundation on and then buffing that in. Making sure I'm going nice and high up into that hairline so we don't have too much of a white line, although my skin underneath my hair isn't the same colour as foundation, so you're never going to have it perfect, but just try and drag it up as much as you can without making your hair go white. Taking a small fluffy brush just for those edges, and then applying a little bit more foundation because I want a full coverage look today. So just building it up. As you can see, I'm just neatening up those edges around the eyebrows and underneath the eye. So next I'm going to go in with my L'Oreal concealer, and I'm just popping this in all the areas that I'm wanting to highlight. So underneath the eye, the bridge of the nose, the forehead, the upper lip and the chin is where I like to highlight when I'm going full coverage. And I'm just, again, buffing that in with a fluffy face brush from Real Techniques. Really patting it into the foundation so that it's blending together. Once I've got the majority of this product buffed in, I'll then go in with a smaller brush around those areas where I can't get a larger brush, and then with the foundation brush make sure it's really buffed into the skin. So that PC19 from Peaches and Cream that I'm using now is really patting that product into the concealer into the foundation as well. And then again, neatening up those edges. So next I'm going to go in with a cream contour. So I'm going in with a foundation stick from Makeup Revolution, but I'm using a darker shade and I'm using it as contour. This is a shade F14. So I've popped that in all the areas I want to contour, and I'm just using a smaller buffing brush from Peaches and Cream to buff that into the skin. This is the PC29, and it's almost like a mini version of the PC19, and it's really good for just buffing that in. And again, going back in with that larger brush and making sure that product is then buffed into the concealer and the foundation. We want it all seamless. See how blue my eyes look because we've used orange. If you've got blue eyes, it's really good to use orange and browns to make your eyes look even more bluer. So now I'm just setting my face with some setting powder from Collection and a fluffy brush, patting that all over the highlighted areas and then using the excess on the rest of the face. Now time for Dull Beauty bronzer in medium, and I'm using a Spectrum contour brush, and I'm just patting that again where we've put our contour and just bringing that colour back through whilst also setting it. Going down the bridge of the nose just to contour it slightly. And then again going back in with that buffing brush and patting that product into the skin. Time for some blusher. So I'm using a blusher from the Nip and Fab palette, and I'm going to bring in quite a bit more colour into this. I want it to be high glam, so we're putting on quite a bit of blush as well. Then I'm going in with some highlighter, so I'm using the Hall of Fame palette from Dull Beauty, and I'm just popping that on with another Peaches and Cream face brush. This is a really fluffy face brush. Popping that on all the areas I want to highlight, and then I'm going to take a smaller Peaches and Cream brush just to place that highlight in more smaller areas, so the end of my nose, top of my lip, bridge of my nose, and again going back in and buffing that in. Next, popping on a little bit of mascara on my waterline. So we're going even more extra with this look, and I'm going to pop a little bit of glue just on the outer corner of my bottom lash line, and I'm going to pop on a couple individual lashes. So all I've done is chop up some lashes from Molly Cosmetics, and I'm just popping 2 bits on the outer corner just to make it even more extra really. So I'm just using a really small detailing brush just to pop the glue where I want the lash to go, and then I'm popping that lash on. Just adds a little bit of spice. once I've done that on both eyes, I'm then going to do my lips. So I'm taking the shade Hotline and I'm just lining my lips. And then I'm going to take, let's wait and see. Yep, lipstick from Doll Beauty in the shade Come to Mama. This is my favourite. And I'm just putting that over, making sure you can still see a little bit of that liner. And we're done. Thanks for watching, guys. This is my Face Jam Festival look. I hope you enjoyed. Tag me in your pictures if you recreate it on Instagram.